Your ex shows up at your door and says, "I'm ready to give us another chance." How do you respond? Story 1. When we broke up, I told her what the cost would be to have me back. So if she was sober, continued therapy, and was accountable to her mental health, I'd probably take her back. Going on 4 years of being single after losing her, still the best friend and partner I ever had, except for the end part. Story 2. It would be a dream come true. Literally. I don't actually want to get back with her, but she has been guest starring in a lot of my dreams. They're actually quite nice and remind me of when I felt loved. So I enjoy them when it happens, but waking up feeling that love fade away and reality set in is always tough. Story 3, I'd give it a chance. We've grown in the past few years, and it's possible we could work out, but I'd definitely be taking it slow. Not moving in for a while, not getting rid of my place, until I'm absolutely certain this will last. Stuff like that. Unlike when we first got together and we were married within the year. Story 4 depends on the ex. Most absolutely laughing in their face. One of 2 of them. Invite them out for coffee and catch up with no intention of dating again. The one that I messed up everything with, I'd propose on the spot. Story 5. It bums me out how many people have exes they hate. If one of my exes showed up, I would be overjoyed to see them, welcome them into my home, introduce them to my husband and kids, and want to hear all about their lives. I hope nothing but the best for my exes. They are great guys. At one point I loved them with my whole soul. I still love them, in the way that you hold affection for your old high school friends you haven't seen in years. My husband feels the same way about his ex and will update me on her big life events, like having another baby or passing the bar. They are Facebook friends. I hope her the best, too. She was once very important to my husband. My husband has met one of my exes, and they are Facebook friends, and both are doctors, and they sometimes reach out to each other with questions. I'm friends on social media with exes' family, including their wives. Not every relationship ending has to mean hate. Sometimes things are just meant to be, but not meant to last. Story 6. This nearly happened to me. He found me on social media about 12 years after I last saw him and sent me this message that said, amongst other creepy-ass things, that he'd talked someone we used to work with into giving him my NI number and then had someone find out where I lived. He was going to turn up at my door and ask me to come away with him. I was 17 when we dated. He was 26. I was in the throes of grieving losing my dad a year before and being dumped for the first time. I was not in a good place, and I can see now he preyed on me. He lied, he cheated, and he treated me like a trophy. Had he turned up, I would have called the police. I actually did because this message freaked me out so bad. I've never heard from him again. It's been about 15 years since then, and it still weirds me out when I think about it. Story 7. Say no and close the door in her face. I don't like it when people show up unannounced unless it's an emergency, and even then you'd give me a call or text first. If she's going to be showing up to my house uninvited, it shows that she doesn't respect my boundaries. That kind of behavior to me is just annoying. And if you reversed the genders, it would be considered creepy as well. Quick tip, if you do want to get back with an ex, either give them a text, call, or send them a card or note. They're more likely to say yes than if you unexpectedly came knocking at their front door. Story 8 depends on the ex, I suppose. Some I'd laugh, tell them how much pain they put me through, and slam the door. One ex in particular, though, I'd say please come in, and let's have a serious conversation about this. Story 9. You ever meet B with someone that's the one? Will never compare to anyone else? Your literal soulmate? Well, that's what she is to me. Unfortunately, life has other plans for us, so we will never be truly together, so each day I can still call her mine. I treasure like it's our last. If she ever did come to my door and say we can actually give it a proper go, I would fall to my knees because at that moment I would have everything I could ever wish for. Story 10. I'm literally trying to convince her that we should start dating again, so I guess excited, exhilarated? Honestly, have never stopped regretting letting her go. She's a spectacular person who doesn't see that goodness in herself. Story 11. She's in my dreams every night and I still get to spend time with her there. She's still alive but changed since we broke up a decade ago or more, and I can't call her the same person. If my ex from 2013 as she was, I'd apologize and definitely give it a full effort. Been kinda lonely these past years. Not that I haven't tried. Dating apps and in-person socializing just hasn't worked out. 2 or 3 dates and I get the, this isn't what I'm looking for, or ghosted. Guess it's a me problem, that's the only connection between them all. Story 12. This happened to me. However, I saw his wedding announcement in the local paper. So when he showed up and said what he said, my response was, how would your wife feel about that? His response was, which one? He was divorced from his first wife when we met. I said, "The new one." His response was, "What she doesn't know won't hurt her." I shut the door in his face. There was a reason he was my ex. Story 13. When I was in high school, my girlfriend dumped me a few weeks before prom. I was devastated. 6 months later, she showed up at my house and handed me an 11-page letter about how we should get back together and how I gave up on us. I politely declined. I found out from a mutual friend later that she was, much less than 6 months, pregnant. Bullet dodged. Story 14. What took you so long? I don't miss you. I miss us. The certainty, thinking of you, being missed, being maybe loved. I know you found another, and you got the baby that was so important for you. I'm happy you got the love and happiness you deserved. Still, I'm somehow living on an extended time. No beginnings, no ends. Maybe it was easier when we were kids. The lack of questions without answers. Story 15. Honestly, I'd probably tell them I hope I've grown as a person since then, enough to treat them with the respect and kindness they deserve. They were such a sweet girl, and their time was wasted on an immature me who needed to grow and learn how to communicate openly and honestly. They're happier now and deserve the life they got. It's not a one you regret, just one you wish you were a better person for, 'cause they genuinely deserved better. Story 16. Invite them in. Maybe ask if they want anything ordered for delivery. Get something a little extra even if they don't. Then have a conversation about what they were thinking about in the lead-up. At some point, I might have a passing thought that they may feel like they need to be in a relationship to escape a bad situation. And depending on how the conversation goes, express that being in a romantic relationship with me is and never will be a prerequisite to me seeking to help someone out of a bad situation within reason. Story 17. Nope. No way in hell. I am with the man I love the most, and I have more respect for myself and for my relationship to ever go back to a piece of shit. Plus would be very creepy because I moved 1K miles away and has no idea where I live or where I moved to. Story 18. I would appreciate the gesture, but that ship has sailed. What I wouldn't say is that my new partner is much better of a match for me than she was, and once you experience the upgrade, you would never want to go back. My ex is a good person, but not the person for me. Story 19. Something like that actually did happen to me twice. The first time it happened, I was young and naive, and I ended up dating her on and off for a couple more years. It was a terrible relationship, and it shouldn't have happened so many times. The second time, I got a text message from an ex asking me to take her back 2 days after I'd gotten engaged to someone else. I told her I was engaged, and she probably shouldn't still be messaging me. I blocked her and haven't heard from her since. Story 20. If it was the ex that I let get away, I'm yanking him inside and doing things to him that would make my dog run and hide. If it's the ex that I broke up with, without saying a word, I'm closing the door and going on with my life. Story 21 depends on the ex. There aren't any that I wouldn't be polite to, thankfully. Most are married at this point. Assuming they were single exes, some I would decline and wish them well. There are a few that I'd take back in an instant, probably foolishly. With some, I'd have a pretty frank discussion with beforehand to find out if they'd changed and were willing to commit. Story 22. If I was asked this a month ago, I would have likely said, okay. At this point, I don't know. She would have to recognize and take full responsibility for her part in ending the relationship, and I'd have to believe she was actually committed to such a thing. Frankly, I don't know if I would believe her. Story 23. I'm really happy to hear you're now in a place where you can say that, but I got over you years ago, and I'm really happy with my current boyfriend. I hope you'll be happy, though. Sounds like you're on the right track for it. Story 24. Which ex, or is it the last ex by default? BC. I had a dream of my last ex and I miss her SM, and seeing her happy without me in my dream has had me crying the whole day, and I keep seeing stuff Abe X's today IDKY I hate it FR. Story 25 IDK TBH we kinda drifted apart because our lives were both busy with me at college and her working 2 jobs. We just mutually agreed to take it back a few steps, and then we never went back to what it was. I then had a seizure, bashed my head on the stairs, and forgot the months we drifted apart, and kinda only had the good times in my head. I tried rekindling our relationship, but not remembering the struggles made it hard to do. Plus, she already had a new BF. I miss her. We were together 7 years starting from HS, and she really helped me get through hard times. She was my first and only GF. Story 26. Figure it out. This was one of his favorite sayings. New W4 leads to a ton more taken out of my paycheck. Figure it out. I need new windshield wipers. After saying, I can see just fine. He's 6'1", I am not. The spot that wouldn't get clean was right where I looked out. He'd say, "Figure it out," then got pissed when I actually went out and bought some, not cheap-ass ones, and had someone install them, similar with other car stuff, home maintenance stuff. Figure it out. During our divorce, he texted or emailed with some issue that he could solve fairly easily. Figure it out, I replied. He persisted, and I just kept repeating, figure it out. He told me, stop saying that. Story 27. Politely decline, but invite them in to catch up. I am the main reason why my longest relationship didn't make it. I'm not the exact same person I was then, but have other problems that would likely put us in the same situation. Story 28. This actually did happen to me recently. Not exactly this, but the last girl I dated before meeting my wife reached out a few months back saying she'd be in town and wanted to meet up. Hadn't spoken to her in a decade. I showed my wife the messages she sent. Wife wanted me to make sure the ex was at least safe and wasn't reaching out because she was in some sort of danger. Turns out she was, in fact, in a bad situation and was here to, in more workplace-appropriate terms, suck and fuck her way back into my life and thus get out of her bad situation. Sat with her for a bit and we looked up resources for her to reach out to where she lives. She said she'd look into them, but then deleted the account she contacted me on, and nobody else has heard from her. Don't know what happened, but I wasn't about to let her ruin my life the way she ruined hers. Story 29. Absolutely fucking not. I met the love of my life not long after our 9-year relationship ended, and it completely broke my brain to know there are people out there who will treat you with empathy and respect. I did not give a single fuck about marriage because my ex had been married twice and it didn't seem special to her. I was open to the idea of it, but things got so bad with how she treated me that it just seemed like a bad idea. I waited around for things to change, but they never did, and she let so much hatred and resentment build. Now, I understand what people mean when they say, when you know you know. I've been through the honeymoon stage multiple times, but this is different. I'm marrying this woman 100%. Do not wait for years like I did for someone who treats you terribly to change. They won't. Find someone who is worthy of your love and gives you the love you deserve. Story 30. Take a ton of Klonopin and take a long-ass nap. I'm not ready to handle that. And if she did ask that, I would assume she's having some crisis like every time she said she's been considering getting back with me. Though she actually stopped speaking to me since October. Longest we've gone not talking this time, so she might be gone for good. Bittersweet TBH. She was someone I loved and wanted to spend my life with, but everything I did was wrong or not enough. When my father died, she left 5 days later and then said that if I loved her, I would have gotten her something on Valentine's Day, which was 5 days after she left me. Tons of stories like that. I wasn't pleasant when we were together, but towards the end I started getting help and got insurance to get on meds. By that time it was too toxic. I hate it because she was my best friend. Honestly, I would have a panic attack if she showed up. I wouldn't know what to do. We've gone through so much and she told me that her friends and family don't like me. My family remember her as the girl who left when my father died, and my father did a ton for her. My friends have seen me go through massive depression and change as a person for the worse. No more confidence, second-guessing everything I do, constantly questioning my sanity. I'd want to say yes because it's what I have wanted for a dozen years now, to just spend my life with her and finally be at peace together. But I also know that the baggage is there, and I don't think she would be willing to work through that. I've literally calmed her down as she called me crying because she regretted just fucking someone. Then she got mad at me because I mentioned I was friends with my tenant who was her former friend, like we lived together. It's in my best interest to be on good terms with her. Shit like that has happened a lot and it's fucked me up. Ugh, I miss her. I wish I could move past it.